On pain. Pain is obviously of many, many different kinds. The main two branches, I suppose, are the physical pain, when you suffer one of your nerves or part of your body, or some organ is attacked, damaged, or whatever, and mental pain. Many people say that mental pain is worse than physical pain. I wouldn't really know, because one of the extraordinarily good fortunes I've had is that I've had very little mental pain. Obviously, I've been hurt, I've been filled with sorrow or melancholy from time to time, but the kind of mental pain that people suffer who suffer from depression or deep anxiety or schizophrenia or other mental afflictions, more or less I've avoided. Even headaches are fairly infrequent. So I can't really talk much about mental pain. I can imagine it's horrendous, because it blurs everything else, and all you can think about is this, whatever it is that has caused the pain and what continues to cause it. And even in terms of physical pain, I don't have very much to contribute, because, again, I've been enormously fortunate not to have suffered much. When I was a little boy, the only memory I have of my time in India was breaking my arm and having my arm re-broken without anaesthetic, because we were in the remotest Assam, and it was the middle of the war, and I sort of remember the sharp, horrible pain of that. And then later, as a little boy in England, I have very small and upturned ear passages, and the person who was dealing with them at that time insisted on poking and probing with various instruments, which were extremely painful, and I used to dread going to the ear specialist. And then I left and went another part of the country, and they just put some Serumol in, and it was fine. So those are the two main forms of pain, and obviously occasionally toothaches or wasp stings or a broken nose or a broken thumb or in rugger, but trivial really compared to the kind of pain that many people suffer. When you are undergoing pain, as I am very occasionally with a dentist or whatever, all I can do is not think about it in advance if possible, and then as it's happening I try and cast my mind onto something more pleasant elsewhere, or count up to 100. So it's not something I really think about. Even recently, when I had with my wife a very mild bout of COVID, it was just like a very bad cold and cough and running eyes and so on, sore eyes for 3 or 4 days, just trivial. And that's the other thing. When I do suffer any pain, I try and pull myself together, and I think comparatively, which is often the solution to many of the things I face in my life. In other words, I think, okay, well, poor me, I've got a really bad cold or cough or whatever. Imagine I was in half the world which has hardly any medical prescriptions, hardly any doctors or nurses or hospitals or anything, and children are immersed in pain. They're soaked in illness, and they live a life in which even minor things like a thorn or a sore throat can then lead to really serious complications. And when I compare myself to the majority of human beings, not only in other countries, but even in my own, until more or less my generation, until the Second World War, pain was often untreatable. So I realize, even in my pain, how extraordinarily fortunate I have been, both in my personal life and in the place and time in which I've lived. So pain is something that I The only pain I really fear, obviously, is if I now, as an elderly person, go towards my death in some form of serious pain, in which case I obviously hope that I'll be put out of my pain as soon and quietly as possible. And like Keats's Ode to a Nightingale, I wish to cease upon the midnight with no pain.